According to reports, Mickey Loomis and the New Orleans Saints tried to make yet another trade. So we're going to break it down here on Saints Now by Chat Sports. This trade was supposed to be for linebacker Quay Walker of the Green Bay Packers. Before we start this conversation and explain why the New Orleans Saints wanted to bring in another linebacker, get in the comments section, sound off, have an honest reaction. What do you think about General Manager Mickey Loomis? You're watching Saints Now by Chat Sports. As always, I'm your host, Trizzy Trace Girouard. Got my guy, Loco Lopez, on the ones and twos. In today's video, like I said, the New Orleans Saints tried to trade for a linebacker, but why? I'm going to reveal all of that and then some here in this video. So make sure to subscribe to the channel, hit the thumbs up icon, and like this video. So let's start off first with the report that came in yesterday afternoon on Monday. The Green Bay Packers, they're currently working on a long-term extension for linebacker Quay Walker, blah, 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 blah. Despite the Packers receiving 2 trade offers from the former Georgia product. You can kind of skip ahead. Saints offered a 5th. The Chargers offered a 4th. Green Bay, they told teams that they plan to extend him. Now, let's talk about Quay Walker because it is important to address a player that the New Orleans Saints were interested in. You know, Walker has been praised for being a quality linebacker that can dominate the entire middle of the field. He's a guy who wears the green dot for the Packers defense. He's a reliable starter. He's a reliable tackler. He's solid in coverage. But he does have a little bit of a penalty issue. So I could see why some Packers fans are like, oh, you know, it's blah, 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 this, that, and the other. We need to trade him. For what it's worth, inside the walls in Green Bay, they really like Quay Walker, which is why they're wanting to extend him and keep him around for the foreseeable future. Worth noting, they did not pick up his 5th-year option. However, it is very evident that they are looking to pay this guy some pretty nice money. Obviously, you have to take into consideration other players' contracts when it comes to those 5th-year options and stuff. So the Green Bay Packers opting to not pick up his 5th-year option, but rather extending him, going ahead and doing that, which I do expect to happen fairly soon. Now, what kind of numbers does this guy put up? A lot of them. 100-plus tackles in each of his first 3 seasons, 2.5 sacks in last year, 2.5 sacks in 2023, 3 pass breakups, an interception. The guy is pretty solid when it comes to taking over and covering and controlling the middle of the field for the Packers defense. I'm not saying he is the lifeblood of the Packers defense. I'm not saying he is the best part of the Packers defense. However, he is a very, very quality part of it. And Quay Walker is a good football player. And I do believe that he is somebody that could make this Saints defense better. But why would you make yet another trade? You're in the midst of a rebuild, so I can understand why you're like, oh, we got to get out with the old and with the new and all that good stuff, but why are we offering up more trade compensation? We're going to take a look at it in a little bit, but the future draft capital is already lacking in a big, big way, and in the linebacker room in New Orleans, you have guys who you could go ahead and just plug in and play right now. I mean, I think that Danny Stutsman and Jalen Ford are both players that you could confidently say, you know what, give these guys some run and we're doing okay. Isaiah Stallbird has even made some plays. He's really, really good tackler. I just don't think it makes sense to make yet another trade. I'm kind of in the camp of if you wanted to be operating like this, if you wanted to go ahead and add a bunch of talent, you should have been doing this over the past few years when you were in win now mode. But now you're in a rebuild and all of a sudden you want to go and make a bunch of trades? And sure, there has been trade compensation that has been late in the draft and you're not giving away a ton. You still have your premium picks. However, that doesn't mean that it's not a silly idea and a silly philosophy. I mean, you've been working so hard to try to get back under control and get back to a winning culture. I just don't think trading away picks every opportunity you get helps you get to that. We have to still reveal why the New Orleans Saints were interested in this move, but really quickly, got to tell you guys about today's presenting sponsor, and that is PrizePicks, the #1 daily fantasy sports app in the whole wide world. I absolutely love Love Prize Picks. I use it every single game day, whether I'm watching football, whether I'm watching basketball, baseball. Doesn't matter the sport, doesn't matter the season, doesn't matter the league. I'm tapped in with Prize Picks. It's the best place where you can turn your ball knowledge into cold, hard cash. You and I make decisions every day, but on Prize Picks, being paid can get you right. I encourage you, Saints fans, to download the Prize Picks app and use code CLNS to get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks puts their user first, so all withdrawals are fast, safe, and secure. Prize Picks offers Venmo, Apple Pay, MasterCard, and more for quick and easy deposits into your accounts this season. Now, for week 3, I'm trying to project some things into existence. I'm going to take the more on Chris Olave's rushing and receiving touchdowns. Got to see him find the end zone. He's way overdue, and I think this could be the week he does that. So I'm going to try to make it happen with my Prize Picks lineup. JSN, I also think, is a phenomenal wide receiver, and for what it's worth, he's on my fantasy team. Nobody cares about your fantasy team, but we do care about your Prize Picks lineup. So be sure to get started today. Use code CLNS, and you'll get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Here's how you play. Just pick more or less on 2 to 6 player stat projections, and if you get your picks right, you could cash in. So friendly reminder to use code CLNS when you download the Prize Picks app, and you can get $50 in lineups after you play your first $5 lineup. Shout out to Prize Picks. All of that information is in the comments and description of this video. It is good to be right. Now, in my opinion, based off of what I've seen in reports, based off of what I've heard, and as far as my understanding goes, talking to our host here of the Packers Report, Joey Peterson, one of my dear friends, sounds like this trade is not going to go down. It sounds like the Green Bay Packers are dead set on keeping Quay Walker in the building, as evidenced by the report that we showed you at the very, very beginning of this video from Easton Butler. Now, I mentioned a little bit ago that the future draft assets are already lacking. And yes, you could have said, well, we're interested in Quay Walker, and we can give them Jalen Ford, or we can go and give them Pete Werner, or we can go give them whoever. But the Saints, according to reports, offered a 5th-round pick. So in 2026, you have 5 picks, no 4th or 7th. So I wonder if it was the 2026 5th-round pick, because then you would have no 5th, or no 4th, no 5th, and no 7th, meaning you'd have a 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and a 6th. Not ideal. 2027, you have 5 picks. You have no 6th-round pick or no 7th-round pick. In 2028, you have 8 picks. You have no 6th-round selection, but you have 3 7th-round picks. And in 2029, that's when you get back to having all of your selections again. Of course, you can expect some compensatory picks to be added into the fold as well, and that could be something that does happen later down the road. But as of right now, this is where the future draft picks currently stand, and I'm currently in the belief that trading away future draft picks just doesn't make sense. Again, it's day 3 picks, late day 2 picks that you're sending away. Still don't think it makes a ton of sense to go ahead and move off of those. For what it's worth, I'm not just realizing 2nd and 3rd round is day 2. So only day 3 picks. You only getting rid of day 3 picks, but still want to have some of those because you can bring in quality talent at any round in the draft, and younger, cheaper, all of that good stuff. So coming up, why did the Saints want to trade for him? I have that answer revealed. I'm going to go through some stats. I'm going to go through some numbers. I'm going to go through my opinions. But friendly reminder to subscribe here to the channel. We are on the road to 100,000 subscribers. It feels like just yesterday I took over this channel and we had crossed over 2,000 subscribers. So now we're on the road to 50K. 49,586 away from 100,000. That's a big ask. So for today, I just want to get to 50,500. Help your boy out. Hit the sub button for Saints content by Saints fans for Saints fans for 100% free. Trust me, you will not regret it. Now, the linebackers have struggled in coverage. That is no mystery. That is not something that is a crazy, realization. That is not a revelation that happened talking to God. You can look at the tape, you can look at the highlights, you can look at all of the information and see, yeah, the linebackers have not been amazing when it comes to playing in coverage. Now, for what it's worth, I want to give some credit to Demario Davis and Pete Werner because they have been reliable when it comes to being tacklers, and they have been making plays. That's not to say they haven't been good, but when they have been in coverage, they have been struggling mightily. Now, you can see the PFF grade at top. Pete Werner less than a 50, whereas Demario Davis over 71. However, both players are allowing a lot of receptions, not a lot of pass breakups, no interceptions, yards per reception, almost 10 for both of them. Like, it's just a little bit frustrating. I feel like there's a lot of meat left on the bone in terms of coverage ability for the linebacker room. And I don't think that the linebacker squad has been bad. I just think that they can get better. And I think that's why the New Orleans Saints explored trading for Quay Walker, a guy who has been known to be pretty reliable as a coverage linebacker and somebody who can be a leader and wear that green dot at any point in time. Now, I do think that my theory is as follows. The Saints have not been pleased with what they've seen from Pete Werner in terms of the production and in terms of his coverage abilities. And they were looking to try and upgrade. Because not only is Quay Walker still a very young player, he could come in and make an impact now while still being able to develop and grow into an even better football player in Brandon Staley's scheme. Why am I picking on Pete Werner? It's because Demario Davis really hasn't been the liability. It's honestly been Werner, and you can look at the overall PFF grades, and it's just not really doing him any favors. 14 tackles, 1 sack where he was credited for it because he forced Kyler Murray out of bounds. Like, that's nice. I'm not going to sit here and take that away from him. But he has been abysmal in run defense. He's been abysmal in coverage. He's been abysmal overall as a defender. So when I think about replacing Pete Werner, I kind of just go back to the question I had earlier. Why are you so desperate to make yet another trade? Do we have to remind you the cracker with the juice that you just drafted? Do we have to remind you about the one player the entire Who Dat Nation is absolutely fired up to see? Remember, when he got on the field in the preseason and made plays, the Dome had never been louder since Drew Brees retired. And on top of that, you also saw him make an immediate impact on special teams. Literally the opening kickoff, Danny Stutsman wasn't on the tackle. In the entire stadium, the entire fan base, the entire locker room, sideline, every single person affiliated with the black and gold lost their marbles when Danny Stutsman made that opening game tackle. Why would you try to make a trade when you could just elevate the cracker with the juice? Why would you try to give up more assets when you used an asset on a very, very good linebacker that you could go ahead and kickstart that development? You could go ahead and kickstart seeing him play in real time, in real action against other rosters. It doesn't make sense for me, looking at the New Orleans Saints, to trade for another player when this is the guy you have on your roster. He's been praised for leadership. He's been praised for being an absolute great tackler. He is a physical freak, an incredible athlete. Not to mention, this is a guy who absolutely could put a huge, huge spark on the Saints defense. I know it feels like I've been picking on Pete Werner for the most part in this second part of the video, but I just cannot get over the fact that Mickey Loomis was sitting here saying, yeah, let's go trade for Quay Walker. Maybe it was Mickey Loomis. Maybe it was Brandon Staley. Maybe it was Kellen Moore. I don't know exactly who was the one making the call. But it's safe to assume as the general manager of the football team, Mickey Loomis said, let's go trade for Quay Walker instead of starting Danny Stutsman. I don't think that that is a good move. I'm speculating saying that that's exactly what went down. But can you blame me for thinking that's probably what happened? I mean, why would you even try to go make a trade? You have Danny Stutsman on the roster. Just let him out of the doghouse and let him go do his thing. It's really not that hard. Rocket science is not what we're doing here. Managing football team is what happening. Now, who would you start? Week 3, Saints versus Seahawks in Seattle. I want you to sound off in the comment section. Which one of these linebackers should start next to Demario Davis? Get down in the comment section, show off your ball knowledge, and let me know. And as always, I appreciate you guys for tuning in to today's video. No matter where you are, how you're watching, the Who Dat Nation is the best fan base in the whole wide world, and we always appreciate you guys taking some time out of your busy days to hang out with us. My name is Trizzy Trace Girouard. For Loco Lopez, y'all stay golden. We'll see you next time.